Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to trade the intraday hybrid scores via the Trader API. So for this example, we're going to have two scripts, one to open up positions, and since this involves a 1-day hold, we're going to have a separate script to close our positions. In my previous tutorial, I showed you guys how to create a backtest. Depending on your optimization, you're going to have to assign those values in here in lines 4 through 8. Personally, I'm going to be using OEF, and for the optimization, it wanted me to open up positions on bar 10 using 15-minute candles and then holding 3 stocks for 18 bars, having a 1-day look back in our tech scores. So after you run your optimization, bring in those values here, and to give you a glimpse or a reminder, here's the optimization I did for the OEF. So after you run your optimization, you're going to get 3 values, which are the values we're going to be using in our other script. Now, according to this backtest, this is our equity curve if we trade 1 share for each of our 3 positions. And if we take a look at best, so we should only have 3 stocks for each trading day. We're going to submit our orders at the end of the 11:45 bar, since these timestamps are indexed at the start, and we're going to exit the next day at the end of the 9:45 bar. So let's go ahead and go back to our script. Now we also have a kill switch. So in case you schedule the script and for whatever reason you don't want to trade, just set this to false, and it's going to prevent the script from submitting any trades on the live account. Now, I did mention we're going to be using the Trader API, so just set your account number in here, as we're going to be using that for later. We're going to require all these packages, and now our very first step is to get 15-minute bars for each of the ETF constituents. So we have approximately 100 different stocks in OEF that we're going to pull data for, and we need to create a directory inside of our working directory. Now, if the directory exists, we're going to remove all the binary files from that folder. Otherwise, if it doesn't exist, we're going to create that path to store all of our data in there. Next, we're going to source our Trader API functions, and if the current day is a trading day, it's going to go into this block. Otherwise, it's going to print out a message saying that it's not a business day and it's the end of the script. So if it is a trading day, we're going to save our current time for benchmarking to see how long it takes to process and trade. And we're going to bring in all of our constituents via this binary file that I have downloaded and saved using a different script to pull the constituents for each ETF, which I have a tutorial on. But if you don't have that file, you could just list all the 100 different stocks inside the ETF you want to trade. And we're going to do a bit of formatting to only include tradable tickers. And since we have Berkshire Hathaway inside of the OEF listed as BRKB, we want to make sure to replace it to this ticker, which is the appropriate symbol in the Trader API. Now that we have our list of tickers, we can begin downloading our data via the Trader API. So it's going to go inside of that folder we created earlier, and it should look something like this. So inside of our folder, we're going to have all the stocks or constituents, and this is the 15-minute data downloaded from the Trader API. Now, once that's complete, we also want to save our benchmark data, and we're just going to save it in our working directory as BM data. So this part is what takes the longest to run. Next, I'm going to list my 3 functions that we went over in my previous scripts to calculate the tech scores. Another function to get the tech scores for all the constituents. The last function formatted our timestamps for the current bar, but we're not going to need this function since we're not going to be doing any saving unless you want to for all the tech scores and their rankings. So that's completely optional, as our main focus here is just to submit the trades. So you can get these functions from my previous tutorials. Now, the only major change I made was that we're now reading our RDS files for each of our stocks, but I didn't change any calculations. So again, the only thing that changed was how we're retrieving our data. Next, we need to calculate our timestamps. So what I'm going to be doing is setting a sequence of dates from today and adding 1 additional business day to create a range of 15-minute timestamps from 9:30 to 15:45 so that we can accurately pick our start and close bars. So as you see from the dates, I subset it to the trade bar, and since I am scheduling this via a cron, I set my scheduled time to start at this trade bar. We're going to add the close bar to the trade bar +1 since our timestamps are indexed at the start. So we want to close at the end of that bar. And I set these 2 timestamps to my local time zone to make sure I'm submitting and trading at the correct bar. And for calculation purposes, I'm just going to be subsetting all of my stocks to the end of my trade bar. So in other words, it's going to calculate all of our tech scores up to that point in time. Now, just in case the API wasn't able to pull all 100 different stocks, I'm going to list all my binary files from the folder that are currently available, but I haven't had a problem downloading all the constituents. And now we can actually begin calculating all the text scores by passing in our as of timestamp, all of our tickers, and the look back period, which is just 1 day. Next, we rearrange all of our text scores from highest to lowest. Now we need to incorporate our fundamental scores. So as I showed you in the backtest, we need to call the last file we've downloaded from the TraderAPI containing all of our fundamentals. And we're going to use our get hybrid scores from my previous tutorial by passing in our fundamentals, our look back period, the ETF, and all of our text scores. Afterwards, we can rearrange by our hybrid scores by picking the top end stocks we want to trade and making sure that for trading purposes, we fix our symbols that have periods to forward slashes. Next, you'll get a printout of what stocks it chose and when to close according to our local time zone. Now, if the user does want to trade, it's going to step into this block. I saved all of my account info via get accounts so that I don't continuously request my accounts from the TraderAPI. Now I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like just to give you an example. Now when you run that function called get accounts, you should get back a data frame containing your account number for each of the accounts and your brokerage. In order for us to submit trades, we need to pass in the hash value for the account we want to trade in. So instead of making requests to the API, I just saved this as an RDS file, which is what we're reading here in line 335. Now at the very top of the script is where you want to enter your account number that you want to submit trades to. And the purpose of that is to subset our hash account. So here in line 337, I match up the account number to the one that we listed at the top of our script in order for us to retrieve our hash account. And in line 343 is where we actually submit our trades. So for testing purposes, I'm just going to be trading one lots. My order type will be market, just so that I get filled quickly, but you can make necessary changes if you want something different. Now as a reminder, these will submit on your live account. So for testing purposes, just make sure that you run this in after hours or else your orders will get filled. So it's gonna submit an order for all of the stocks in our stocks to trade. And now we pause for 5 seconds and we get all of our order history. And the purpose of retrieving our order history is to retrieve all the orders we just submitted. So when we place trades, it's going to send back an order number, which we're going to match up using our order history. And this is just to make sure that we're closing the positions related to this trade in case you have other positions open in that account. And we're going to save our order history as hybrid score orders. We're going to save our current time and out, calculate our total runtime, and print that out in the console. And that's pretty much it for this script. As I mentioned, I did create a cron for this. So I'll give you a glimpse of what that looks like when I ran it. So it loads up all the packages. Again, the process that takes the longest is retrieving the bars from the API. It's going to calculate all of our text scores for each of the constituents. It's going to add the fundamental scores. And according to the optimization, we only want the top 3. So for this current day, it told us that we should open up positions on Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, and that we should close our positions on 9/27 at 7:15. Now I have since corrected this because it's off by 15 minutes. And it did send out orders, and the total script time took about 3 minutes. So as a reminder, I scheduled this script to run at the end of our trade bar, which is around noon Eastern. And now that we have open positions, we need to close them out the following day at this timestamp. So that's why we have this script called close intra-hybrid, which is relatively straightforward. You're going to want to assign your account number. And if the current day is a trading day and the user wants to trade, we're going to read in all of our accounts and all of our orders in. It's going to print out what orders it's going to close. And the reason why I added the time to close to our orders was that we can have a check to see if the current day matches our date and time of when we should close. And if it is, it's going to attempt to close out our orders. So again, we're going to source all of our TraderAPI functions. If the number of rows in our order history is greater than 0, then we get the green light to send out the orders. And again, we're going to be using market orders. The quantity, I just hard-coded it since I'm going to be doing one lots, but you can retrieve that information from the filled quantity in case you're doing anything different. And then just print out that we sent our orders and then the script ends. So we're relatively short. The process takes about 5 or 6 seconds. I haven't scheduled this yet, but I will be scheduling this script every day at the time to close. So with that, guys, this concludes the video. I will be adding both of these scripts to my Patreon, and hopefully I'm going to also keep track of this algo to see how it performs in the future. So all that's going to be available in my Patreon, and you can find the link down in the description area. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.